Twitter and Facebook. I go see Lisa, I go sing a chameleon.
Time don't come for us to wake up.
My people, it's not time for action. Yeah. No more talk. We know how. Yeah, leaders, we don't tire. Yeah, this situation, we don't need you.
Them say the way you lay your bed, now so you go lie on top. When you sell your votes, not poverty, you dey invite to make you shine your eye.
Make you don't sell your vote,
no shishi for bride.
If you talk, we say, and I talk, we say,
no shishi for bride.
If you talk, and I talk, and we all the time, we say,
no shishi for bride. No shishi for bride. No shishi for bride.
If you sell your vote, sell opportunity, sell your tomorrow.
You say good roads, good health, and education.
They say the way you lay your bed, that's so you go lie on top.
They go try to bribe you with chichi, make you know say your future for chichi.
Then go surely take a back with profit, now you go suffer.
Suffer, Naija. Monkey go the walk, bamboo go the shop. Say that's what we go there. Make you not sell your photo.
No shishi for bride.
If I do my part, then you do your part.
No shishi for bride.
Make you play our part and we build this land.
No shishi for bride.
You say
no shishi for bride.
You say
no shishi for bride.
Nigeria go better.
Corruption kill us, bribery finish us. Last, Chuku still got us. Who want change Nigeria but us? Let's make it work again, everybody rise again. Tire for the talk, nobody want do the work. Nobody want die there, I speak with no fear. Change out for them, you can't buy my soul. No shishi for your votes, this not the new oaths. How much is your vote really worth? How much they want to give you for the pain? If we choose wrong, then waiting we gain. My brother, waiting we gain.
I don't go sell your future to some criminals who don't get the conscience. Don't be say we go just do the fun vex and still allow nonsense for another 4 years. Cause my people still dey jobless. Every day my people still dey die in hundreds. So make we shine our eye, cause no be only 2 bad choices where they the contest. Give me one more verse, please.
I'm talking to you precisely. You day school office or they do NYC. With your PVC, you can vote wisely. Even when the offer they bring in is so spicy.
No shishi for bride.
if you talk, we say, and I talk, we say,
no shishi for bride.
Make you play our part and we build this life.
No shishi for bride. No shishi for bride. No shishi for bride.
Nigeria go better.
No shishi for bride.
If I do my part, then you do your part.
No shishi for bride.
You talk and you talk, we all the talk, we say.
No shishi for bride. No shishi for bride. No shishi for bride.
Don't say your vote. Don't say your vote.
Foster.
My name is Abubakar Tsoho Musa. I'm a pharmacist and a Nigerian with a passion for a better Nigerian. And I'm directing my question to Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And it's regarding employment and job creation, because that's what you keep mentioning. And as a successful businessman, I'll put it this way. I'm an applicant applying to work in your successful company. And after passing through some processes, your HR department, that's the human resource department, asked me to provide a referee from my previous place of work to enable me to secure the job. And I have something to say. This is the response of my employer, whom I've worked with for the past 8 years. And this is what he has to say, and I quote: his propensity to corruption, his tendency to disloyalty, his inability to say and stick to the truth all the time, his propensity for poor judgment, his belief and reliance on marabouts, his lack of transparency, his trust in money to buy his way on all issues, and his readiness to sacrifice morality, integrity, propriety, truth, national interest for selfish interest. My question is, if my previous employee forward this reference to you, will you employ me?
Iroko Post Media Group Inc., in association with Iroko Post TV, invites you to the definitive debate of the 2023 presidential election season. Non-partisan Nigerian journalists Sonala Olumense, Okendebe, Farouk Berogi, and Rodolph Okonkwo, with nearly 200 years of combined experience in the profession, are pleased to invite you to the definitive presidential debate of 2023. Date: Sunday, February 19, 2023 at 6 p.m. Nigerian time, noon in New York, 7 p.m. in South Africa, 4 a.m. in Australia. The program will be televised in and outside Nigeria and carried live on all social media platforms. Here are the presidential candidates invited. All Progressives Congress Party's Bola Tinubu, People's Democratic Party's Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's Peter Obi, New Nigeria People's Party's Rabiu Kwankwaso, Social Democratic Party's Adewale Adebayo, Action Alliance's Hamza Al-Mustafa, African Action Congress's Omoyele Sowore, African Democratic Congress's Dumebi Kachiku, and People's Redemption Party's Kola Abiola. Media partners for the debate include The Cable, Premium Times, Sahara Reporters, People's Gazette, Classic FM Radio, Ikenga Online, Authority Newspaper, Neptune Prime, Enugu Metro, Sandiata Post, Urban FM Enugu, Abuja FM, The Beat FM, Nigeria FM, Lagos Talks, Blueprint Newspaper, Roots TV. Several TV stations and social media platforms will televise the debate. Please join us.
Nixon is an effective leader of his party. I hope he would grant me the same. The question before us is, which point of view and which party do we want to lead the United States?
Mr. Nixon, would you like to comment on that statement?
I have no comment.
Who am I? Why am I here?
There is no question but that this nation cannot stand still, because we are in a deadly competition. A competition not only with the men in the Kremlin, but the men in Peking. We're ahead in this competition, as Senator Kennedy, I think, has implied. But when you're in a race, the only way to stay ahead is to move ahead.
There is no Soviet domination of Eastern Europe, and there never will be under a Ford administration. I'm sorry, what?
Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
You know, I wasn't going to say this at all, but I can't help it. There you go again.
Is this on? Mr. Green, did you turn that microphone? You asked for me if you would... I am paying for this microphone, Mr. Green.
When I hear your new ideas, I'm reminded of that ad. Where's the beef? Yeah.
Well, they've got a point. I don't have any experience in running up a $4 trillion debt. I don't have any experience in gridlock government where nobody takes responsibility for anything and everybody blames everybody else.
That means he's either going to have to raise your taxes by $900 billion or go into the Social Security surplus for $900 billion. There is no new accountability measures in Vice President Gore's plan. Man's practicing fuzzy math again. There's differences. So that's what a governor gets to do. It's not only what's your philosophy and what's your position on issues, but can you get things done? And I believe I can.
I had the chance to pull together a cabinet, and all the applicants seem to be men. And I went to my staff and I said, how come all the people for these jobs are all men? They said, well, these are the people that have the qualifications. And I said, well, gosh, can't we can't we find some women that are also qualified? I went to a number of women's groups and said, can you help us find folks? And they brought us whole binders full of women.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
My Social Security payroll contribution will go up, as will Donald's, assuming he can't figure out how to get out of it. But what we want to do is to replenish the Social Security Trust Fund.
So President Uhuru Kenyatta says he has no regrets over his decision not to attend the presidential debate and maintains he is glad that he decided to give the event a wide berth. The president says he watched the debate on television and thanked God for telling him not to attend. Uhuru was scheduled to engage his main rival, NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga, who turned up for the debate and had all the time to outline his agenda, make promises, and even defend himself over various accusations. Rita Tinina tells us more.
It was dubbed the Grand Face-Off, a debate between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the NASA flag bearer Raila Odinga. But the head of state did not show up, leaving the podium and the time to Raila Odinga.
Ndugu yangu Uhuru Kenyatta hakukuja, ningependa sana akae pale, nieleze yale maneno yote, akisikia, apate fursa ya kujibu, lakini ameniwacha peke yangu. Ameniweka shere.
Huyu mwenzetu, ambaye hata jana, alikuwa anamwangalia tu huko akiongea.
Kenyatta received a backlash on social media for snubbing the debate, but the president has no regrets. In fact, he says he is glad he did not turn up. The first ever presidential debate in Kenya was held in 2013. Uhuru attended the two presidential debates that had been organized after threatening to pull out of the second debate. He says he will not be intimidated by the media.
Unajua wenzetu huko wa magazeti wanafikiri wanatisha wengine. Mimi niwaambia hata 2013 hawakuniunga mkono. Hata safari hii wakikataa kuniunga mkono, shauri yao. Mimi najua ya kwamba kura ni wananchi milioni 45.
During Monday's debate, Odinga said he would fight corruption from the top as the head of state, accusing Uhuru of failing to act on corruption in government, including the NYS scandal, which implicated former devolution cabinet secretary Anne Waiguru.
And here I say that the buck stops with the president.
Lakini yake ni mabishano, yake ni consultation. Alafu jana, sijui kama mlisikia na nilicheka. Jana anasema ya kwamba ati ufisadi ulikuwa unaendelea, lakini yeye hangefanya chochote kwa sababu alikuwa coordinator peke yake.
Uhuru, who was speaking during a rally in Nyeri, said Raila has no proper development record.
Wengine ambao haja yao ni wao wenyewe binafsi. Kama angekuwa na haja ya wananchi wa Kenya, miaka hiyo 5 alikuwa waziri mkuu, wangeungana na mzee Kibaki kufanya yale ambayo sisi tuwafanya leo. Atuambia ya kwamba aliota ati atajenga reli. Sasa kuna tofauti ya kuota na kufanya. Hata mimi naota mambo mengi sana.
Among Kenyans, reactions to Uhuru's no-show were varied.
Yenyewe sioni makosa juu, unaona? Hiyo kulingana na vile ilikuwa hakuna kitu ati inaongezeka ati sana.
I think it was very disrespectful for the president to miss the debate.
No, it was bad for a head of state to do that.
I think the president did what he thought it was the best.
I've really supported Jubilee, but yesterday he really disappointed me.
Before the debate, Uhuru's party had informally complained about the debate format and insisted the party should have been consulted about the date and the moderators. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Patriots, Nigeria's call obey to serve our father's land with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and might, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity. Oh God of creation, direct our noble cause. Guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow and living just and true. Great lofty heights attain to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign.
Thank you very much, Chioma Sidlo Chigo. Chioma Omera for that wonderful
we have a right to be listened to and be heard. We did get questions from a lot of people across the country, from Lagos, Ibadan, Onitsha, Benue, even London and New York. And they want to find out from these candidates today why they think they need our votes and what their plans are for us for the future. It's the most important thing today that we want to find out is why we, the young people, have been taken for granted for so long. We've been called the silent majority, the apathetic demographic who never really cares about voting and elections. But this time, we think change has to come. I mean, there's change sweeping all over the world, and we don't think Nigeria should be left behind for any reason. The candidates who are going to be on stage today were not chosen by me or anybody in this crowd arbitrarily or without consent of the youth. Over 8,000 votes were cast on whataboutUsNigeria.org, and the top 7 candidates were invited here today to speak to us and let us know why we should vote for them. They'll be talking on topical issues which are also voted on by the same number of youth. So whatever we're doing here today was democratically done, and nobody was forced to be here. Unfortunately, we might not have all the candidates here today, like I'm sure you already know, but those who are here with us will give us their answers, and those who are not here with us will leave to you to know what to do with them. We're going to be talking to some people in the crowd just to find out what the expectations are for this evening and why they are here today. I'm sure most of you at home are excited and waiting to meet the candidates. But first of all, let's just find out get a feel of the crowd here today. They're mostly made up of very young Nigerians who came here, who have the same passion as most of you at home, to find out what the future of this country is and what will happen after April 9th if we should still call this our country, and if we would still have a stake in Nigeria. Hello, sir. How are you doing? What's the name?
Emeka.
Do you represent any particular group here?
Yes, Sleeves Up.
What does Sleeves Up do, and why are you here today?
Well, Sleeves Up represents, I'm a first-time register, and I'm going to be a first-time voter in Nigeria. And Sleeves Up just basically got the youth to roll up their sleeves, go register. We have to have a voice. And if we don't register, we can't have the voice.
Thank you very much. Any particular issues that are bothering you that you would like to be tackled today?
Well, for one, as a first-time voter, I would just like to know, I'd like to be convinced about what I'm voting for and who to vote for. That's why I'm here.
Thank you very much, Emeka. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I like the jacket. Very fashionable. Which of these issues with power, education, and what have you, what bothers you most, and what do you want to hear tonight?
The main thing I would like to hear tonight is the candidates demonstrate an understanding of what the issues are and the consequences of not dealing with them. I think in the last debate we heard them make a lot of promises, but what I would really like to take away from here is the concrete sense of understanding on their part of what the issues are, how to deal with them, and what the consequences are of ignoring them.
Thank you very much. I can see a very popular artist in Nigeria who, in the last couple of months, has become very active with youth issues. Mr. Bankole Wellington, popularly called Banky W. You're here today. Thank you very much. We have done the R part of the RSVP, which is register. Have you selected? You don't have to tell us if you have selected. But will you go through with the SVP, and what is your message to the young people of Nigeria?
I am going through with the RSVP thing. Register, select, vote, and protect. And that's the message that we're giving to every young Nigerian. That's the reason some of us have been so involved from the start, and that's why we're still involved today, is we need to come to a point where, you know, the days of just dancing at rallies and taking young people for granted, those days have kind of passed. It's about what are you going to do for Nigeria? What are you going to do for young people? And so that's why we're here today, to find out those of them that have agreed to come, fine. If they didn't agree to come, we leave it to them to tell, to explain what that message is. But right now, we want to find out what they're going to do for Nigerians, what they're going to do for young people. We've registered in record numbers. We're also going to vote in record numbers, but we need to know who to vote for, and this is part of that process.
It's interesting that you would be talking about not wanting to dance, seeing that you're a musician. But I think your message is very clear. Hello, madam. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you.
Why are you here today, and do you represent any youth organization, or you're here on your own?
I represent KIND, Kudrat Initiative for Democracy.
What are your expectations here today?
Well, from the candidates, I expect to hear what they intend to do, and not just that, but how they intend to follow up the plan. Because it's not just about having a plan, it's about making sure that your goals are actually met within the time that you have actually set to meet them. So I want to hear what their strategies are, their monitoring and evaluation plans, and at the end of 1 year, can we actually see a difference, and at the end of 4 years? So that's what I'm here to hear.
Thank you very much. Hello, good day, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
There's a lot of talk that debates are not necessary in Nigeria, that with or without debates, most people have already made up their minds, and besides, it's a very small majority who do watch debates. Do you agree with that, and do you think debates actually make a difference?
Yeah, I do totally agree with that. You have to understand that in the third world country politics, this kind of things, all little or no relevance in shaping the political culture of this country. There is no doubt about it. But notwithstanding, I think we're really good heading there. We'll be there one day.
Thank you very much. I don't know if we can get Miss Chimamanda. How are you doing today? Very well, thank you. I see you going through what you have prepared to grill the contestants for the candidates today. Do you have any expectations from CBR? There's a lot of talk about what they are going to do. I'm sure you want to know the how and the when for most of these things.
I do, but I think that what's, for me, most important is that we're talking about this, that we're having this debate, that finally our politics is coming to a stage where we're exchanging ideas. I think it's a fundamental part of a democratic process to talk about these things so that candidates don't take people for granted, so that our political system is not just about colorful rallies. So that's very exciting for me.
Thank you very much. Good day, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Your name, please.
My name is Koko Danagaji.
You look very demoralized already. What is the problem?
Because these candidates are not coming, so that's why I'm losing energy.
No, they are coming. They are definitely here. When you see them, is your energy going to come up?
I hope so. That's it.
What sort of energetic questions do you want them to answer today?
Exactly what is affecting you and I. I'm here from Cross River to represent the interests of my state and Nigerian citizens who are age bracket like myself. I want to ask questions that is going to benefit me and my fellow Nigerians like you. I'm going to ask questions about transport first because I know that in the years past, like maybe 10 years ago, used to have toll gates in Nigeria. The essence of the toll gate was to generate revenue to maintain potholes and create more road. I'm going to use Malaysia as an example. In Malaysia, they have such toll gates. They generate revenue enough and they maintain their roads. But in Nigeria, they've been allocating a contract to most federal roads. Nothing has been done. It takes from here to Kaduna, you drive so safely because the road is done. From Lagos to the east, it takes you 2 days because the road is not there. So I want to know if those parts, south east belongs to Nigeria, or south side belongs to Nigeria, or Nigeria just owned, or maybe they're not selling. That is exactly what I want to know.
Very interesting, is it? Now, we do hear a lot of promises during campaigns, and even at debates like this, they're going to come here and tell us we will do this, and we will do this, and we're going to spend this and do that. Is there a way you think we can hold them accountable to these promises they're going to make today or through the campaigns?
Yes, I believe there's a way we can make them accountable, because the voting process, the idea of a voting process is that it allows us to select our leaders and to also evaluate them, evaluate their plan of action, how they plan to implement it. And I believe over the years, we're going to see a growth and development of our democracy as we the youth, participate more in the electoral process.
Thank you very much. I find something very interesting, the fact that there's a lot of age restrictions with political offices and what certain people can run for in this country. And it does bother me because I know that I have met a lot of people within my age bracket who are very passionate about this country and who are also hardworking and back up that passion with a lot of action, but cannot do anything because they are not 35 or 45 yet. And I find that's a little disturbing. I don't know. Why do you think it's important that we have age restrictions for certain positions, or must they open up the field for everyone to run when they want? Hello, sir.
I don't think it's a matter of age. The funny thing is, presently, youths in Nigeria, we are aware of these things. We are aware of democracy. We are interested. We want to make a difference. Funny enough, those that have been there, what have they done? Give other people a chance. I think their generation, they need to chill and give us a chance. If we don't really need to be there, but we have ideas, we have plans, we can give them, we can tell them so many things that they can do to improve the system. There are no jobs, education, so many things, security, infrastructure. There are so many things to be done, and youths can input. We are young, we are vibrant, and we are strong. They need to give us a chance.
Thank you very much. I find that with Nigeria, our problem is not ideas, and we are very good with coming up with stuff that we want to do and plans and making grand promises and all of that. But implementing has always been the problem. I don't know. I want to ask, what do you think is wrong with Nigeria? And why are we where we are today? Hello, how are you doing?
Good evening. Part of what is wrong is lack of transparency and lack of accountability. And the reason we're here today is to change that. And once we start demanding that they held accountable to us through avenues like this, it won't be business as usual.
Thank you very much. There's I did hear something about some People's Senate or something. I'm not very sure. Please come up, sir. And I think things like that, where we have young groups who talk and try to hold people accountable, is very important. Mr. Laila Bode, please come forward. We're talking about accountability. How do we hold these people responsible? And how do we make sure they do the things we want them to do?
Thank you very much. I must congratulate the organizers of this event. I'd like to say that nothing is going to change if we don't make deliberate efforts. This is the beginning. It's sweeping across the world. And of course, if we pull our forces together like we're already doing, a lot of things are going to change. Accountability starts from each of us. It's not only about leadership. What about followership? A lot of us are part of the crimes being committed. A lot of us are very corrupt. We aid and abet the corruption that goes on in the country. So when you sit down to even blame ministers and the likes, you're part of it. So we need to begin to check ourselves to start with. And of course, at the debates that the People's Senate had, one of the critical things that we decided to do was to bring out the youths to actually debate. Let the political parties, even they use them for thuggery and the likes. Can they bring any of them out to actually debate issues? There are no issues being really discussed. And if anybody talks about any issues, they can't even give you exactly what they're going to do. Now, it's time to hold them accountable. Holding them accountable requires that we all come together and ask these questions. And we're not just going to do it on Facebook. There are so many Facebook activists, so many BlackBerry activists. Can we begin to turn these things to action? Yes, it's time. I can tell in the next 1 year or 2 years, things are definitely not going to be the same. The Nigerian youths are finally waking up. And of course, we're going to push them forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one more question. He did mention about corruption and how some of us are corrupt anyways. And I know that at the last debate, one of the candidates did say something about Nigerians not being corrupt, but the system being corrupt. I'm not sure I understood what that meant anyways. But I want to know, do you think Nigerians are corrupt and we can't stop being corrupt?
Okay. I would say Nigerians are not corrupt, because the fact that maybe one person is corrupt doesn't mean all Nigerians are corrupt. And I always argue with people, you don't just generalize things. And if someone is corrupt, there are some things that led to that. Maybe he's growing up, the things he witnesses around while growing up, and things can change. We've seen situations whereby even people we label as being bad turn new leaf and become good. So I would say that Nigerians are not corrupt. Maybe the system is aiding us because there's really no transparency, and everybody has a place to actually hide. So if there's no hiding place, then we all be playing. Thank you.
So this supposedly corrupt system is not a human being, is it? Because I'm very sure that there are people who run that system and have made it corrupt. Now, what do we do to cleanse this system? And are we sure that we can cleanse the system? Because we've been saying, okay, we are the future and all of that. Do we think we can change the system?
Well, I think a journey of 1,000 miles starts from a step. So the fact that we are beginning to ask questions, the fact that we want to be involved with the way we're being governed, shows that we are ready to change things. And I think we will change things.
Thank you very much. And so, I would like to ask the former Honorable Minister of Information, Mr. Frank Winker Jr. Is Nigeria going to be good? You have been in the system and you know how this thing works. Do you think things will change?
Well, I have absolutely no doubt that any human being and any human system is capable of reinventing itself. I believe that what is happening today is already a pointer to the fact that change can come in a very positive and a very strong way. And so what I hope would happen today when we've listened to the candidates at this event and other events in the coming days is that the Nigerian people, young, old, women, boys, girls, whoever, must then figure a way to hold the candidates accountable when they have made all the and given all the assurances that we've seen in the last several weeks. And we must not stop here. This group must not stop here. If we stop here, then you'll be aborting what I think is a very important platform that is emerging and which can act as a check on the political class and then the political system.
Thank you very much, sir. As you can see, there's a lot of passion in the room, and we're gearing up to start off the debate very soon. We'll be taking a very quick break. We'll be right back.
Vote for nourishment. Vote for Cowbell. Cowbell.
Very, very proud, because that card that you hold in your hand empowers you to vote. But before we vote, there is a critical plan in our quest for change.
A point where we must seek for their plans for various sectors of the economy.
They would hold rallies, they always do.
Don't get distracted
with the singing and the dancing. Let us get hold of their manifesto. and understand, note what they promise to achieve. Let us read it, be knowledgeable of it.
Let us pinpoint the various and the core values of their promises towards us,
and balance it out with reality. We have outlined 3 points to help you achieve this plan. We select, vote,
protect our votes,
and do it very wisely.
Enough is enough.
Focused on youth issues. We're live at the Shehu Musa Iyar Adwa Center in Abuja. Here now to welcome our presidential candidates, those who have decided to honor our invitation to speak to the youth of Nigeria, to tell them what they have for us. First on stage is the presidential candidate of the Action Congress of Nigeria, Malam Nuhu Ribadu. Also here tonight is the presidential candidate of the National Conscience Party, Chief Dele Momodu. And we do have with us the presidential candidate of the All Nigerian People's Party, Malam Ibrahim Shekarau. So once again, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Chimamanda, over to you.
Thank you, Ebuka. Good evening. I am Chimamanda Adichie, and I will be moderating tonight's debate. The coalition of youth groups who have organized this debate wanted to hear from young people. And based on a poll conducted online and by text messages, young people in this country are very keen to ask the presidential candidates questions on 6 major topics: education, employment, power, corruption, the economy, and security. These young people sent in hundreds of questions, some of which we have selected for tonight's debate. The debate will have 2 phases. In the first phase, the candidates will have a conversation with one another. I will ask questions from young people based on education, employment, and power. In the second phase of the debate, young people will have a chance to pose their questions directly to the candidates. These questions will be based on the topics of corruption, security, and the economy. In the second phase, some of the questions will be presented via a video format, and some questions will be taken from the audience. Finally, each candidate will have 1 minute to make closing statements. We have a live audience here at the Yaradua Center, and we have asked them to please refrain from applause so that we can have the conversation continue uninterrupted. And with that, let's begin the debate. Now, the first question is on education, and it is from King Onoja in Kogi State. Our educational system has just recorded a 98% failure rate in WAEC, and our university certificates are not widely accepted around the world. What are the programs you have to improve the quality of education our young people are receiving? And to King Onaja's question, I would like to add, what do you think is the fundamental problem with education in this country? And what specifically would you do to address it? Malam Ribadu, would you like to start?
Thank you, Chinamanda, and it's a pleasure to be with you. The question is about education, but it's also about our own country. Things are not good with the country, and things are not good with education. We just have to do something, and that is the reason why I've come out and I'm contesting to have the chance for us to fix it. First and foremost, we have to invest in our education. We have to put more money. Today, we are putting just about 6% of our budget into it. We need to put more. We do intend to scale it up the first year up to 12%. And when we put in this money, we are going to be very specific. We are going to work on the infrastructure. We are going to work on bringing technology into our school system. We are going to address the problem of primary education. We are going to work on the teachers. We are going to make sure that the quality improves as we also address the quantity. Those two things must go together. But education is the foundation. It's the first thing if you want to change a society. Unfortunately, it's not been good with us in the last, particularly 2 decades. That is why we are recording 98% failure. We will reverse it.
So, do you think then that the fundamental problem is lack of funding?
It is mismanagement and lack of funding. It is not giving priority to education. It is like getting it wrong by those who are in charge of our own affairs. Instead of putting money where you could guarantee our future, they ended up putting it into their own pockets. Today in our country, 75% of our own budget goes to current, not capital, but recurrent budget. Recurrent means just running government. It means just to buy those things that will continue to keep people in government, not investing in what can be for the future. We have to reverse it. It's the first fundamental problem. If you are budgeting 75% of every money that you have into just running government, there's nothing much to go for education. It's the first of the problems.
Thank you. Chief Mamadou, would you like to answer?
For me, it's not just about funding. We have broken it down in my party, the National Conscience Party. So we have to look at students. How are students surviving, whether at the primary, the secondary, or the university level? In terms of funding, I believe there is a lot of money at about 306 billion right now. That's a lot of money. But we are not sure if the money gets to what it is supposed to be meant for. So we have to deal with students, we have to deal with teachers, we have to deal with administrators, we even have to deal with the curriculum. You see, because when you talk about spending money and you are not getting the results, when we were in school, I knew the sort of thing that we read, but today, talk to a philosophy student, he doesn't even know who Bertrand Russell is, he doesn't know who René Descartes is. So for us, we're not just going to concentrate on the infrastructure because we have to upgrade. We've decided that in the first year we will upgrade at least 25% of all our schools. Right now, you go to schools where there are no desks, no chairs. We have to take care of that, provide the enabling environment, make sure that the teachers are retrained. Because when you have teachers who are not even better than their students, it's a problem. So we have to make sure that we look into that. Then in the area of administration, there is so much politics going on at the moment. And then the retraining for us is very key. When we were in school, we used to see inspectors come around to talk to our teachers, and when they are coming, you see everybody cleaning up, everybody's getting ready for them, but everything has collapsed. So I think it goes beyond just funding it. You must make sure that the money meant for specific things are spent on those things.
Thank you. Governor Shekarau.
I think it's not just about funding. I think we need to bring out very practically what is happening. The issue of poor performance in our schools is a factor of several indices. You see, we have the globally accepted adage that no nation can grow higher than the quality of its educational system. And no educational system can grow higher than the quality of its teachers. And this boils down to the fact that the teacher is the central issue, is the key issue. And so long as the teacher-student ratio is not appropriately addressed, it's not just the funding or building of schools, having the students. Let me quickly give you a very practical picture. I, as a mathematics teacher, in the days that I was taught, we were just about 30, 40 per class. And the maximum at secondary school level a teacher can take is 4 classes because it is 6 periods of mathematics a week. And if you give him 4 classes, that gives him a maximum of 24. If he has a class of 40 students times 4, that gives you 160 students, which he can adequately teach, go around, interact on one-to-one, take assignments and mark. What we have today on the average nationwide is 100 per class in the public schools. Some schools you have 120. If you give a mathematics teacher 4 classes of 100 students each, that is already giving you 400 students to deal with. Unless he's an angel, there's no way the teacher will give assignments to 400 students a week, collect the assignments from 400 students and mark them. This is the same thing in English, the same thing in all the other subjects. So the main issue is that no amount of training, no amount of qualified teachers, no amount of remuneration will change the situation until and unless we're able to address the issue of the teacher-students ratio.
So how do we address that?
No, how to address that, for example, I've done that practically in my state. It's not a 1-year affair, it's not a 2-year affair. What we have done is I decided from the first year to take a segment of certain schools. Let's say you have a school of 10 classrooms with 100 students each. If you want to reduce it to the, let's say even the barest minimum of 50 per class, that will mean multiplying the number of classroom blocks in that school. If it has 10 classes, you have to build 10 more so that you break them up into 50 per class to be able to attend to them.
But wouldn't that involve more funding?
This is what I'm saying. You see, it's a colossal sum of money. We've gotten to a point whereby the population in school has overgrown, is not being matched with the teacher provision. And because of the population explosion, almost every parent will want to have his child in school and will get them admitted. We started 30 per class was the maximum. It was raised to 40, it was raised to 50. I think by mid-90s, it was officially to be 60. Today, only God knows where it is stopping.
Honorable, would you like to say something to that?
It's interesting to hear Governor Shekarau saying those things because the good thing is that he has been a governor in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And Kano State has the worst record of failure. Is one of the worst in the 98% we are talking about. And you have been in charge in the last 8 years. I believe there is something more than just what you are talking about. We need to do more. We need to be serious. We need to be fair and just. We need to bring education to the doorsteps of every single child in this country. That is not what is going on. Today in Kano State, close to about 50% of those age-going children are not in schools. What have you done about it?
So when you say fair and just, are you suggesting any kind of mismanagement of funds?
It's about getting it right, about competent leaders who knows exactly what to do, doing it at the appropriate time for you to get results. Unfortunately, those who have been in charge of our affairs haven't gotten it right. We need a change.
Chief Momodu, would you like to add something to that?
Yes, what I need to add is simply that Nigeria has reached the stage where we must make use of our best material in every sphere of human endeavor. You see, if you look at under OBS Equisili, for example, we were able to see specifically what was wrong. They had a lot of very bright young people who came up with policies. You see, Nigeria must return to that era of thinkers. You see, we're playing politics with the lives of our children. I tell you, it is not going to be easy for all of us. If we're shouting today that we have all these crises in education, it is simply because we don't have the best hands managing things.
Now this question
I whether I can be given a minute to address this very issue.
Yes, of course.
You see, referring back to what my brother Nuhu said, if I may probably give a few statistics. When I came on board in 2003, for the secondary schools in Kano, about 240 something of them, we had less than 4,000 teachers. And between 2003 and now, I've employed more than 6,000 teachers more to provide more teachers in the schools. You see, one thing with education is that if you neglect it for 1 year, you are likely to take 5, 6 times more than that period to recover from the neglect. We've had the population explosion all over. He's already talking of a large population, large number of children that are already out of school, and we'll be encouraging them to come in. It's not just about admitting them. What are you doing to match? It's not just building the school and admitting the children. If the teacher is not there, you're only building up a refugee camp. You're going to have the children, and indiscipline will be the whole thing in that school. So what we've been doing is to make sure the teacher provision is there. And to provide one teacher is not a one-year affair. You have to invest into the teacher training program. We've been employing them. Before I came on board, there was a 6-year embargo on employment. So most of the schools had no teachers, and therefore you're going to have poor results for a very long time. The result of what we have done now, employing 6,000 teachers, will be seen probably after some period of time, because it's not a 1-2 year input.
Thank you. We're going to have to move on to the next question. This is from Kenneth Kadiri, a Nigerian who lives in Liberia. And Kenneth Kadiri says, I am 24, graduated in 2009 from the University of Jos. However, I have not observed the National Youth Service Program because I don't see any relevance in the program, especially based on the stories I heard from my parents concerning the ideals of the program. My question is, won't it be better for young Nigerians to have volunteer experience outside Nigeria instead of using the National Youth Service Corps as a tool for placing the children of the rich in top government agencies? So I think this is fundamentally a question that's challenging the National Youth Service Program. So if you became president, is it a program that you would keep as it is? Would you change it? Would you abolish it? Shall we start from Chief Momodu?
Yes, I think the NYSC program was designed for a specific purpose, but over the years, like the rot in the system, just went down. I believe we must keep it. You see, it provided me, for example, an opportunity to visit Bauchi for the first time in 1982.
But there are many people who are now sent to Bauchi who change it.
No, in my own case, I studied Yoruba, and I was rejected and sent back to Oyo State. So my case was special. So I didn't have to beg or to use what they call long leg. You see, what we will do, I've told you, is that for as long as you have your best brains running things, they are everywhere in Nigeria, we will be able to enforce. It's enforcement. It's when people break the law and they know nothing will happen, they will break it with impunity. He was a police officer.
So specifically, what would you do? You would keep it
so
as
what
it
we
is?
do is to make sure that, just like we came here now, we were asked to pick some papers for us to sit down, and it was enforced. So there was nothing like a governor coming in first or a police officer coming in second. We did things properly, and that's what Nigeria must do.
Okay. Well, everybody.
Well, I personally, I think, I believe that the NYSC scheme worked. It helped to unify this country. We have met a lot out of the system, and we can improve it. We can address those difficulties and challenges. But I look at it as one of the success stories.
Even presently, today.
Come again?
Do you still think of it as a success story today as it
yes.
is?
Oh, yes, certainly. It's still the only sort of avenue through which, our own young men and young women could move around, and opportunity for them to work in some other part of the country that they are not from. It's still, that is the principal thing, and it's majority of the students are still doing that. There are a few like Dele Momodu who could change from Bauchi to whatever. Which state did you change to?
Oyo State.
And I don't agree with that it is because you read Yoruba, because you could still do something in Bauchi with your Yoruba.
I was rejected.
So, in any case, it is a good thing. But what is the challenge ahead of us in our country today to improve things as they are? We have had a very, very traumatic period in the last 2-3 decades. Things went wrong. Things fell apart. We need to get back and put things back on track. And indeed, NYSC itself is one of it. We can sanitize, we can clean up,
But how?
we can get
How?
things done. First and foremost, get a quality leadership, a competent leadership, a modern leadership, a leadership that can identify and connect with Nigerians. Those are the issues that we are talking about. What Kadri said is a reflection of what our people are going through. They need leaders who will understand with it. First and foremost, get the leaders. 2, get quality people around you, a competent team to address those fundamental challenges and difficulties we are facing. It can come in the education sector, power sector, health, all of them. This
Sir,
is
I'm
the
going to have to
beginning.
cut you in.
This is the starting point, Chinamanda. We get people like you back. Come and help.
So we need leadership in the... Governor Shekara, would you like to...
I think the NYSC program is one good thing that has ever happened to this country. It is a very good program, and I advocate that this should be retained. You see, it has helped in bringing the youth to be exposed to other parts of Nigeria. I think, but for the NYSC, a number of Nigerian youth wouldn't have known other parts of the country. I had that opportunity. I served in Imo State. You see, the problem that is bedeviling the NYSC is like all other things, like the education thing I've mentioned, is the population. When I had my NYSC 77, 78 in Imo State, we're no more than 300-400 in a set. In the camp, we are posted out. Today, my state is receiving 3,000 NYSC at a time. The funding is not adequate. The kitting, the materials, where they will go to serve is a problem. Accommodating them and so on. We need to address all of this. It is now even in batches because of the problem. Batch A, batch B, batch C. Yet it is 2,000, 3,000. I think largely is the issue of management. The program itself is desirable. We need to have it. It unites this country. It exposes us to know what other cultures are. We exchange ideas, we exchange knowledge. So I think we need to address the issue of managing the program and ensuring that it is adequately catered for.
Thank you. It seems that a lot of your answers somehow point to or suggest population control. And we have to take a break, but when we come back, I'd like to ask you about that.
Okay.
Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
Governor Reagan, again, typically is against such a proposal.
Governor, there you go again.
Admiral Stockdale, your opening statement, please, sir.
Who am I? Why am I here?
Governor, if Kitty Dukakis were raped and murdered, would you favor an irrevocable death penalty for the killer?
No, I don't, Bernard, and I think you know that I've opposed the death penalty during all of my life. I don't see any evidence that it's a deterrent, and I think there are better and more effective ways to deal with violent crime.
We have a question right here.
Yes, how has the national debt personally affected each of your lives?
I think the national debt affects everybody. Obviously, it has a lot to do with interest rates. It has.
She's saying you personally.
On a personal basis, how has it affected you?
Has it affected you personally?
Well, I'm sure it has. I love my grandchildren. I want to think that.
I have as much experience in the Congress as Jack Kennedy did when he sought the presidency.
Senator, I served with Jack Kennedy. I knew Jack Kennedy.
Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
That's what the question in this campaign is about. It's not only what's your philosophy and what's your position on issues, but can you get things done? And I believe I can.
You said in the Rose Garden, the day after the attack, it was an act of terror. It was not a spontaneous demonstration. Is that what you're saying?
Please proceed, Governor.
I want to make sure we get that for the record, because it took the president 14 days before he called the attack in Benghazi an act of terror.
Get the transcript.
He did, in fact, sir. So let me call it an act of terror.
Can you say that a little louder, Candy?
He did call it an act of terror.
Yeah, I'm glad that you recognize that Al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not Al-Qaeda, you said Russia. And the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back, because the Cold War has been over for 20 years.
Held its first ever live presidential debate. It came ahead of the presidential election on the 4th of March. The debate focused on social and economic policies as well as racial issues.
I was in Tanariva area, Delta.
One of the candidates is the Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta. He's due to stand trial at the International Criminal Court over the post-election violence back in 2007. He denies the charges.
Tribalism is a cancer that has afflicted this country for a very long time, and has been a source of conflict, has been a source of death, has been a source of destruction of property. And this we saw the worst of in the post-election violence of 2007.
Well, let's hear now from Peter Grester, who's got more from Nairobi.
This is without doubt the most watched television event in Kenya's history, perhaps the most important of this entire election campaign. According to the organisers, about 40 million people here in Kenya and around the world will be tuning in. It's being broadcast live across every single radio station and television network in the country. But the question is whether it will actually change anything, because a lot of the analysts are suggesting that this campaign is polarising along ethnic lines, and of course people can't change their ethnicity. So they will tend to vote for the candidate who represents their tribe. But a lot of people are suggesting that it is up to the minor candidates to take votes away from the leading candidates and perhaps push this to a second round. So the question is whether those candidates have been able to do anything. One of the surprise performers has been a man who wasn't even expected to appear in this debate. Mohammed Dida, who is one of the candidates who's barely polling on the charts, who's barely getting single figures in the opinion polls, has really taken this debate by storm. He's a man who has really shone in this debate. But it's unlikely that he will be able to take away votes from the candidates and push this to a second round on his own. But the bottom line is that because this is the first debate of its kind, it's almost impossible to assess the kind of impact it will ultimately have on the election.
Hello, thank you so much for watching, and in the next 15 minutes we'll be live with the debate, so stand by. I hope you will join us, and thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you. Take care.